What's up, everyone? I'm here once again with Andrew Allen from Fresh Sense. He was a moderator of one of our roundtables at the Impulse session here in Destin, Florida. And his topic was getting on the shelf, what retailers really need from brands. And we're going to dig into some of the findings from his discussion with buyers and brands that were at his table. So thanks for joining us again. And give us an overview of the topics that you touched on.
Yeah, I think out of what we talked about, there were three things that kind of rose to the top. It was transparency and honesty, both around capabilities and your own consumers. Service was a big one that came up, especially from the buyers and merchants that were sitting there at the table. And then lastly, it was really understanding category dynamics and how to tie your product into that buyer or retailer's goals.
Excellent. So let's start with the first thing, transparency.
Yeah.
What were they talking about there?
This is a hard one. I feel like a lot of times brands tend to learn this the hard way because the temptation when you have a big, small, any kind of retailer across the table that you think you can help them succeed, they give you a way to reach more of your customers. There's just this built-in motivation that we have to find a way to make it work and to maybe hide some of our weaknesses as a brand and cater only to our strengths and talk about why this is going to be a home run opportunity. Now, in some cases it may be, but I think that kind of the general takeaway was brands get points for being transparent. And I think that creates a trust with the buyer when you say, hey, I'd love to help you out with this initiative, but what you're sharing doesn't really line up with our capabilities. Are you open to flexing, or should we table this for another time? That lets the buyer know that you're willing to do the right things in the right order to build your brand in the right way. And it takes so much discipline to do. I can speak to this because I have been on the side of wanting to sell anybody and everybody on our brand. But we found that actually the more transparent we are about our product, about our capabilities, what we're great at, and what we aren't as good at delivering, that the feedback from that buyer is very appreciative, and they actually lean on you as a supplier partner. So,
that's a great point. I mean, the last thing you want to do is say you can do something and then not deliver. Then you burn that buyer for a long time.
Yes.
It takes a while to get the trust back.
Yeah, if ever.
Yeah. And people, and I understand brands, especially new brands, they're eager. They want to get out there. They want to get everywhere. But like we heard a lot during the educational sessions earlier in the week, where they're talking about start slow, start organic, grow with us. And just that phrase, grow with us, means starting small and as your capabilities, as you grow, your capabilities expand. And then maybe eventually you get to that point where you can deliver in the way that you originally talked about.
And one more thing too, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I'm speaking from the brand perspective because that's where we reside. But for the retailers out there, they have to be transparent and honest too. One of the folks at the table brought up an excellent question, which he said, I like to sit down with my buyer and ask them, what's the most important to you? Is it margin? Is it velocity? Or is it differentiation? Because a buyer is naturally going to say, well, I want all three of those things. But the reality is most products excel really at only one or two of those. And so it's a good chance for alignment for that buyer to say, you know what, if I had to prioritize one, it'd be differentiation. And then as a brand, you can say, okay, here's how we do, or here's how we can or can't help you in that way. I think that's really important because retailers demand a lot from brands, and then as a brand you feel like you have to deliver everything. When retailers are willing to be transparent about what's most important to them, it helps the brand align or kind of self-select out.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin, right? By the same token, as a brand, you can't be everything to everyone, but also the retailer can't want the brand to be everything or ask them to that. So if they got to pick their lanes too.
That's right.
And say, this is what's most important. And I think they should be able to go into that meeting defining that, like what, or at least knowing what's most important to them, and maybe that might change depending on the product and the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So service,
Yeah.
the next one. What was the gist of that discussion?
Yeah. This topic was kind of brought up by a merchant, and we spent a lot of time on it at both sessions, talking about this. It was really interesting. They mentioned really the message from retailers was, I'm busy, and if I said I'm interested, I do want you to continue to follow up. And maybe just because I didn't respond to the first, second, third email, don't give up on me. Keep me in the forefront. And also, when I ask for things, turn those around quickly. Give me the things that I'm asking for, information wise, right? Because they need information at the right time to take to their leadership to make decisions. And so, I mean, look, like it, hate it, whatever in the middle, as a brand, and she explicitly said this, which I appreciate. She said, I'm your customer, and they're not the end customer, but they are that B2B customer, so to speak.
Yeah.
And brands need to treat retailers like that. I mean, the better service you offer, the better chance you have to, create a relationship and earn their trust. And it can be frustrating at times. It can feel like a one-way street, but patient persistence does pay off, and buyers reiterated that.
I've talked to so many buyers on video asking that question, like, when it comes to follow-up, what do the brands need to know? And one buyer I spoke with said that exact thing. He said, if I say I'm interested, keep reaching out to me, because look, they have, this week alone, some buyers have over 100 meetings. It's going to take a while to dig through that. They're going to get barraged with emails. They may miss an email from time to time.
Yeah.
So just stay in front of them. And the most successful brands that I've spoken to over the years are the ones, like you said, pleasantly persistent. They'll touch the buyer on a regular basis, not like every day. You don't want to go crazy, but they'll give them something of value each time. So like, hey, just updated this packaging, wanted to let you know we just launched a new line or a new product or whatever here. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. So that this way, when they are ready, boom, they're still front of mind.
Yeah.
But by the same token, for the buyers, if you don't like something, let them know and say there's not a chance that this is going to go in our store. Let them off the hook so that it saves your time and their time.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. But for the most part, buyers are pretty honest. If they are interested, they are interested, and they do want you to keep reaching out.
Yeah. Well, and your meeting here at an ECRM is a great opportunity to point blank ask your buyer, how would you like me to follow up?
Yeah.
What if I don't hear from you in the first 3, do you want me to keep, and then, even just for peace of mind, you get that verbal affirmation, like, yes, like even if you don't hear from me, I appreciate you checking in every month, every quarter, whatever that cadence is that works for them. And then, you can deliver them what they ask, and that's all you can do.
And that also, you can never go wrong if the buyer tells you that. If you ask the buyer, just let that be your complete guide, but ask the questions like you just said. How many times should I email you? How frequently should I email you?
Yeah.
Do you want samples? When would you want samples? When should I do this? Get all that information from them, and that's your guidelines, because everyone's going to be different.
And you already brought it up, but give them an out. Like if you have a really polite buyer, they might say, oh, email me a deck.
Yeah.
We like to say, does this make sense to follow up on at all?
Mm-hmm.
And just leave it there. We're going to stop that question right there and leave it open-ended and let them answer. And that allows them the opportunity to speak truthfully instead of, how would you like me to follow up with you? That's implying they want you to follow up. I don't like to imply that if I can help it.
And get specific. Do you want me to follow up on which items?
Yeah.
I know one brand, this is pretty cool, pretty dramatic, but in line with that person's personality, where at the beginning of the meeting, they had a lot of products. So she told the buyers, like, look, I understand we have a lot of products. We have a minimal amount of time. tell me which ones of these products are you not interested in discussing at all. And then the buyer pointed out a couple. She took them and took them physically off the table and put them on the floor, dropped them on the floor. He's going to remember that.
Yeah.
Right. You remember that. One, it's efficient because now you're just focusing on what matters.
Right.
But the same thing for follow-ups. What
Mhm.
products do you want me to follow up on and which ones not? So you just kind of give them guidance. So
Absolutely.
so what was the third one? Expertise you mentioned?
Yeah, expertise in your
Mhm.
consumer, and then also investing in having some expertise in the category. As a brand, your own consumer is something that you should own and know inside and out. How they're using the product, why they're buying it, what it does for them, the path to purchase, all those different kinds of things. But it's no longer enough to just know your consumer.
Mhm.
Retailers want you to help them connect the dots on how that grows their category. And understanding, for someone like me who didn't come from a retail background first entering this space, it took me a while to understand exactly how a buyer can grow a category. I mean, even the concept of incrementality at shelf it's kind of the eighth wonder of retail, I call it. But it's a very unique financial concept that really doesn't exist in a lot of other places. Yeah. So brands need to put the time into understanding how categories grow, what adds that growth, understanding that that's the buyer's goal, whether in margin, velocity, units, or all of the above. And then, helping them connect the consumer dots as well. But that's a big one. And I think retailers, as e-commerce continues to grow and consumers get more and more segmented and products get more and more specific, that niche expertise is becoming more and more valuable for emerging and challenger brands. So you need to use it.
The retailers only have so much time and they can't become experts on that depth that the brand can. And it reminds me of an interview I just did with a smaller retailer. She has a salon spa retail concept, and she relies on the brands to educate them about the products, but also about how to weave those products into conversations. So, for example, when the example that we talked about a little while ago with microfiber towels. So she specializes in curly hair. So she wants to move these towels, which are great for people with curly hair. It soaks up a lot more water, I think 8 times more absorbent. I don't have curly hair, so I don't have to worry about that. But if the staff member is shampooing someone's hair, that's an opportunity to have a conversation. It's like, oh, wow, you have so many curls, it must take a long time to dry. By the way, we have these great towels that are, boom. But it's the brand that's got to educate them on doing that. And that goes for other products too.
Yeah. And that's connecting the dots for the consumer.
Yeah.
If you just said, would you like to buy a towel?
Yeah.
Why? Why would I want to? I think buyers are looking at products in the same way of adding them to their category. We do a great job at freshening small places, and people use it in closets and drawers, and the buyer's going, okay, so what? So what does that mean for my category? And we've gotten a little bit better over the years at answering that next question, like the next layer of the onion, which is really what the buyer's there to do and what they care about.
So give me an example. So you're talking to a buyer about Fresh Sense.
Yeah.
How do you have that conversation? How do you educate them on the use case?
Yeah. So like a recent example was we had a new study that came out that showed people that buy Fresh Sense in a cross basket study, 40% of the top indexing products along with Fresh Sense are also continuous scent action air fresheners, which is a mouthful. But what that means is consumers are purchasing Fresh Sense along with other air fresheners that really do a very similar thing to us, but in a different space or in a different way, or require different things, like a plug-in, for example. Might be great for a hallway. You probably don't have an outlet for your closet. But that piece of information alone, that's interesting. But then where it becomes real for a buyer is you connect the dots and say, so what that means is Fresh Sense is additive to the category.
Mhm.
It's not replacing.
Yeah.
Nobody stops buying Glade plugins because they discover sachets.
Mhm.
They just find a new way to add fragrance into their home in a space where they didn't have a solution before.
Yeah.
So that's like the next step of saying, here's why it's additive, not just, hey, people buy us and other products.
Mhm.
And leaving it there. It's a cliffhanger
Yeah, so it's
for the buyer.
it's another thing. It's another thing to add on, and that's cool. And you're right. There are some spaces in my house where the sachets are perfect, and I'm not going to light a candle or use a warmer or a plug-in or anything like that. And so each of them has their spot, and it gives you opportunities, gives the retailer opportunities to think of, okay, what can I mix this with?
Yep.
If I have like storage and organization stuff for a closet, that's a good spot because they're thinking of how do I organize my closet? Well, it's not a far leap to say, how can I make it smell good too?
Yeah.
And without there's nothing to plug into the closet, or definitely don't want to light a scented candle in there. So, so those are great conversations to have.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for moderating and a lot of great stuff. So, Andrew Allen, everybody, thanks again.
Thanks, Joe.